I ask you what's missing here. Like, this doesn't have some spunk. I'm like, that's because you scoped out everything I wanted to add into.
The best we can do. I'm sure, like, what is it missing? Yes, there's.
Oh my God, is this the best we can do? Is the worst question. Seriously,
Yeah.
like it answers everything. It like I've heard things like this doesn't have oomph. This doesn't have the X factor.
Yeah, that oomph word is.
No, but
Uh, question time again. Uh,
Sorry, my bad.
when
Yeah.
when was the last time technical debt impacted our ability to deliver design?
Uh, Today,
yeah, like
2 hours ago.
every damn time.
Yeah.
Give us more. Give us more tea. Give us more example.
So
Let's go one
it's.
by one. Maybe Arjun, you start.
Yeah,
Are we
Arjun, you
doing the
start.
whole alphabetical thing?
Let's start with that. Yeah, that.
Huh?
Let's start with that.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's something you have to empathize with now, right? Like, I remember we were like super arrogant about like technical feasibility when people talk about feasibility and like ability to build and then there's time also. So right now we are in a phase where we have to execute everything really quick because we are like basically trying to save the business in a lot of ways, right? When you go into lockdown and things like that. So here now suddenly we have to be super empathetic to everything, every single team that's in the play, right? And yeah, technical debt is going to keep it's going to keep arising, and like we have to accommodate. But then the problem is it works both ways, right? Yeah, and one thing we don't realize earlier on is that we can create design debt like that, right? Because we are doing the visioning process. In visioning process, you can create design debt. You can basically chart out a roadmap for your company for like the next 2 years, and keep it in such a way that engineering will just keep chasing that for like 2 years. But that's not how it works, right? Like in
Right.
your markets don't function like that. People don't function like that. You yourself cannot predict product. So technical debt is something which you should be aligned on in terms of like everyone should know what technical feasibility is, like in terms of like what is the capability and the strength of your organization to execute something you have. But beyond that, like it should not be dictating how you work, right? It's like I remember like earlier on it was all about like making the best use of what we have in hand, right? And that was terrible, and it just pissed me off. So, but then now I understand now that we are being involved in the whole process. Earlier on, it was just a product manager coming to you and telling you that, oh yeah, I spoke to these guys. It can't be done. So you've spent a week or like 10 days or whatever time frame you spent visioning something without even knowing whether it's going to be built up.
Hmm.
So now that's changed. Now companies involve everyone in like grassroots level. So you're basically speaking. All the builders are in the same room now, right?
Hmm.
In a lot of ways. So now at least that alignment is there before you even know, and like before you start running and sprinting, you basically know that this is the path I need to take. So it's better now, I guess. But yeah, it's I think honestly it's a long way to go. I think no designer can ever be happy in terms of ability to build. Like we're very greedy that way in terms of what we want to build. What do you guys think?
Sure. Hardik, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not a bug. It's a feature. I think technical debt is basically you know how you start thinking about what is an exception and what's the norm, right? And the sooner you realize what actually is a norm, the more comfortable you actually grow to become with it, right? So technical debt, like for somebody who's starting out in an industry, may feel like it's just your company that is accruing all the debt and is never able to pay it. But then you progressively go on to work at different companies and even some large ones. You realize that it's everywhere, right? And it's everywhere in various capacities. Some people manage it well, some people completely ignore it and let it accrue undocumented. Some teams keep documenting it and paying it time to time just to keep it. So I don't think like letting it accrue is a bad idea as long as you maintain what is acceptable to you as a team, right? Like how much of it is acceptable to you beyond which you start having to pay it in order to bring it back to the manageable level. So teams that document it well manage it really well. They Teams that don't document it, basically, I have been at companies and Arjun has been at companies. We have both been together at those companies. Everybody knows who we are talking about, but we just don't document, right? And in that case, it becomes very challenging to even know what you're dealing against, what you're dealing with, right? So that's like the company part of it that um, that's the perspective I have. And the other one is about designers, right? I actually changed the way I work a little to make peace with this whole tech debt thing, right? Like we used to say that there is a design you create for an immediate execution that the engineers can pick up today, and then there are designs that you create as a vision of the place where you actually want to end up in, let's say, X amount of times later. What ends up happening is that vision part we spend a lot of time on, because that's like we have that control, and we have the necessary tools to actually paint that vision, which is why we think that that's the vision where that we should be striving to get to at some point. Not only is that deluded, that is also misinformed, and also takes into account lots of assumptions. The company would grow to be that company. The company or the product would grow to become that product. So we invest a lot in this vision that is mostly um, unfounded in reason, and which is why we always compare what we can ship today with what we think we should have shipped as designers. And the delta, the larger the delta is, the more unhappy we are. I've The way I've changed that as for myself is not to ever go into fully fleshing out the vision version at all, because not only is it a waste of time, it's also a waste of your fidelity energy that you could drive in today's capacity, that you're actually putting in future's capacity, which is imaginary, which is not materialized yet, which you don't even probably you are not even capable of guessing accurately how much capable you, your company, and your team would be in future. So there's no point making high fidelity mocks for how our product would be, let's say, 2 years down the line. You can do like high level planning. You can do like high level sort of laying out of things. That's about it. That's where you leave it. Like even the PRDs from really smart product managers don't talk about product with that amount of certainty as we do about about our designs for way far out into the future, right? So what gives us that liberty of having that certain of our designs that far into the future when the product managers or even the CEO doesn't have that clarity, right? So it's very diluted. And the more we do that practice, the more it detaches us from like the reality. And the more it makes us angry about the tech debt. Like क्यों हम पे नहीं करके हमारा विजन तक क्यों नहीं जा रहा है, like, but no, that's probably not the vision, right? So more it's about more being more of a realist and just doing less of the blue sky painting. Blue sky thinking is great. Blue sky painting probably is slightly less rewarding. It never ends up getting there, right? Like you remember, dude, Arjun, like we print all those pictures and 3 years down the line you still see the product not get to where you originally imagined, because probably that was not even the correct path, right? Like we think that that's what the product should have ended up like, but it probably wasn't. So yeah, I think we need, there's a mindset shift or a little bit of maturity that comes up with like a ton of experience and just being faced with the same situation in even in the best of companies in the industry. They all just go through the same. So it's like the more ready you are to accept that that's the norm, not an exception, right? Like tech debt is literally part of the process, right? Um, in a venture capitalist backed companies, like you have to pay the tax. Like, otherwise, you have like 50-year runway. Karo sab kuch. Like you write the best code possible, you build the best designs possible. You'll turn profit when you have your grandkids, right? Nobody wants that. So speed is basically the metric everybody is chasing, and tech debt is the cost that they have to pay, right? Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, and especially from the point of view of it seems like it's a permanent feature, and most companies seem to be at least engineers are realistic about it, and they are okay with managing it versus us dreaming and building those nth level vision. And I completely relate to that because we still do that to a great extent. And Hardik, this discussion makes me rethink some of that as well, like how fruitful that is. I think I'm going to have the discussion with my team as well after this for sure. Madhuri, what do you have to say about that?
I had 6 years of my life to think about this because when you have worked with certain companies, you know how they behave and perform. And as Hardik truly pointed, right, in our initial years, we're not very empathetic to this whole process of value creation, where we are like, okay, I started here, the product is delivered here, and you'll be like, I am still here. You keep thinking about, hey, I thought about this, I dreamt this, I did this, and the product would still be where you initially left it off with. And sometimes the products that you design don't even exist because there are business priorities that have changed and all of these things. The biggest thing that helped me in understanding technical depth was understanding the business model canvas. When you understand how a business functions by putting it in those block of A4 sheet, you will actually understand where and how that company prioritizes certain things. So if you are able to nail your business by using a business model canvas, as a designer, you can empathize more. And as it is truly, it is a feature. And you have to be okay with that consistent step of putting towards that, hey, today we will just ship this one button. I know a button is a big thing, but it ships out. And then 1 week later, we will ship a form. Like that, we have to keep building it and moving forward. And I'm in a position where the product I am building right now, the technical debt is on me because I have to do the management of how is this whole thing going to ship out. And I have to be okay with deprioritizing certain items. And understanding the BMC kind of helps you move in that direction in a little more easier way. And to be honest, I feel documentation is the key for everything, because many a times you lose sight because you're shipping currently or you're moving forward very quickly. Context keep changing. You're wondering who to talk to, who to communicate to. You have to document. If we do not document, we will not be able to tell people this is what we thought about things. And even if you just have like a retrospective every week, that itself leads to a lot of good discussions and decisions that your product might take in the future. And that is something I think a retrospective should be very well planned, especially technical depth retrospective, so that we know that, okay, we're not going in the direction that we are intended, and we can push back towards the direction we need. So that uh, it's a formal process. It's an emotional process as well, because you're like, ye nahi kiya, wo nahi kiya. You keep pointing fingers. You do all of that, but end of the day, the idea needs to be reminded and like, okay, just come on this path. I understand this has all happened. Just skip this. Just come on the path. That is my understanding of technical depth. And as designers, we need to understand business, because end of the day, who are we serving? A business that wants to make sure that a product is shipped out. It's a value creation process. So we need to ensure that we understand business process as well. They are willing to learn design. Why can't we learn business? Right? That's a winded answer, but yeah,
Right.
that's
No, that's very valid. Like
Right.
that business empathy is something that was what kind of started the understanding, I guess. Like once you have that sense of business and empathy, then you start becoming okay with a lot of things, which earlier you would have been so stuck up about, right? Like you would have guarded with your life.
Right.
yeah, that's
You
very
also
true.
start self censoring, right? Self curating a lot, right? You create that filter in yourself about what is important, what is not, even from your own designs, right? So in that in that maturity comes with like you having spent time in the organization, so you start reading like people's minds almost, right? Like about how they will react to your work and how what kind of a feedback you can already expect. So you can do your first level of curation already yourself, right? Like certain ideas are bad ideas, certain ideas are not business positive ideas. So you just chuck them, don't even show them. So that's basically like you learning about the company and the business more and more, just changing the way you work. Because yeah, I mean that's just a natural evolution of you in the organization as you spend more time.
Yeah.
Right.
And you understand your customer segments a little more. Why they're paying what they're paying. Except, of course, we understand that we are representative of our customers, right? But you also understand that they are putting their money on it. So you kind of understand the depths of why are they doing. You might get the, hey, this person, there's a market understanding, there's an emotional understanding, there's a context understanding, and then there is, monetary understanding of these. So you kind of see the holistic perspective and you're like, okay, I am now ready to approach the design in a much more informed manner than just like a design manner. And that is something we need to learn. And business basics for designers is a very relevant topic. It's not for a product manager, it's not for a business business owner, it's for everybody. You should not have the discrimination in these aspects.
Mhm. So I remember one of the examples of what technical debt looked like, in real life. And I remember when I just was starting out as a designer, I would look at other people's apps, other people's website, and find a corner where the design was not perfect or really outdated from their last style. And I was like, aha, like, they don't have the eye for perfection. They have missed out one corner on their app which was not polished. And after being behind building several of these products, you realize, damn, like, you realize it's not that easy as just updating that screen, because maybe this doesn't make enough money. Maybe not enough people use it. Maybe it's on a code base which no one understands anymore. Maybe it's a code base that will have to, you cannot touch it because a lot will come crashing down. Right. So you start to realize that a lot of realities exist from technical point of view and technical plus business point of view, both, because it's building systems, and there's no perfect system, right? All systems are leaky. So all we can do is manage that leakiness and keep it in the known zone. So our black swan from technical debt reduces. As long as technical debt is not producing a lot of black swans, it's very unlikely business will prioritize that. So there always will be, like, if you it was funny, like Airbnb, I used to like enjoy their design team's work, only to see a bunch of calendars and in their app, etc., which are like really old designs which they haven't touched in years. And you like, they have 200 designers and tons of engineers. What are they doing? Can't they just update a calendar? No, they can't, because it's not that simple. There are more pressing things. There maybe the calendar code base for this app was is really outdated, and no one has got time to sit down and rewrite it. So those realities start to come into picture, and you become a more forgiving of yourself and other people as well. And I think part of the reason people feel designers take that personally as well, because an outdated product or a dysfunctioning product reflects on you. We spoke to this last a little in the last roundtable as well, right? Where it reflects on designers, so we take it personally, a lot more personally. But this design is not looking perfect, or it's not up to the mark. This one part does not match style guide or design system. So we take it way more personally. But yeah, that's maybe not practical approach.
I mean, as long as like one thing a really good PM that I worked with told me was, if you are as a designer working with a team of engineers, which of course you would be, you have to set up your own calibration checklist, basically, right? Like, not everything that you consider important or mission critical probably is mission critical important. You have to design, like, if there are 10 things you are basically discussing with your engineers, what are the 7 things that you are really intending to push on, and what are the 3 things that you can let go of and you can live without. Like, if all 10 of those are your P0s and the things that you want fixed, it's not going to happen. So you have to you can't, you have to have that first level of prioritization done on your end, right? No engineer wants a checklist handed to them and be asked to go fix it, right? So they basically are pressed against time. In the given time, what is a passable version? Like, probably many of the times, like, just getting the feature out is way more useful than having the feature be like fully furnished and like perfect down to the last pixel. Like, nobody, not a reasonable amount of people care that to justify the end cost it would incur for all the other users to not get it. It's like for the 3 users who would probably care, you are depriving the other 3,000 users to not have that feature who would already start using it tomorrow, right? So that's you need to have that understanding of basically what is that number breakup like for your product, right? If 3,000 people are going to care, sure, push for it, right? So those are the 7 things that you would push for. But the 3 things that only 3 people would care out of the user base, it's definitely not worth it, not even probably, right? So yeah, that's the understanding of the market that Madhu spoke of, right? Like if you know your users, for example, people who want to order food or people who want to order a cab, getting a cab is way more important than what your button looks like, right? Like, so what end of the consumption are you on? Are you in the end of luxury? Are you in the end of utility? If you are a utility app, like you have to have a different designer mindset about technical debt, about like go to market, about features, versus if you're in the luxury end, like your app is seen in a very different context. So like you probably are optimizing for very very different things versus like a utility app. So that's why I like this. If somebody doesn't have this understanding, it becomes very challenging for that kind of a designer to succeed in like a variety of backgrounds, right? Like if they go from one company to the other, they can't, with the same mentality, then they can't adapt, right? Like to what the needs of the business are.
That brings us to our very interesting and related next topic. Designers don't get to make the final call on, a lot of times, and most of the time, in fact, on what gets shipped out, what version gets picked up, how features get prioritized. And just to speak a little to the reality of that as to why that is that a good idea? When should designers have a veto or not have a veto? Just to know your thoughts, like on the topic of like when designers are not the final decisions maker.
Actually, I
Arjun,
think
Arjun?
this is, if you add to what Hardik just said, right? This is true in even when you build. Like it's not like it's not a contest, right? Like that design should have the final say in this, product should have the final say in this. It's not like it's basically you chasing whatever your company's goal is, like whether you're utilitarian or whether you're transactional, whether you're premium focused. So in every level, design is giving a sign off basis what that goal is, right? And that goal is something that is a common goal, right? It's an engineering goal, it's a product goal, it's a business goal, it's a tech goal. It's basically a goal which everyone owns together. So like, but yeah, having said that, like we are like super picky about, like, so we at when we do pixel perfection with like our engineer, I myself have delayed giving a sign off on pixel perfection by like a week because I was just not happy with what was being shown. I know that my engineers hated me for that, but these are some things which like there are some things where designers would draw a line saying this is something I will not let go. There are some things which I think it's still valid for us designers to be very attached to, right? That finesse, because some things we know that our users going to really love, right? Or some things we know that it's very important for setting some product up for success, right? And like this empathy is something I'm glad designers can bring to the table, because I've noticed that when we're sitting in the process of shipping, we get caught in the whole mindset of chasing the date, right? The date is everything. When you're in like a recurring, like let's say product company where every month we have to meet that date of an app release, right? You tend to lose out on these things very often. So this is something which was like, it's very important to me that like designers own some metrics, like in terms of, I wouldn't say metrics, but some principles in terms of what you will put a line on and what you will be okay with. Right? So that's something which I've realized. But then, like we don't own like the product being shipped, and we need to work around that.
Interesting perspective. What do you say to that, Hardik? What is your point of view on that?
Yeah, I think what Arjun said makes a lot of sense. One thing I would say is that no matter how much we normalize having technical debt and all, there is also like a clear case of companies that are just bad, right? That are just not you just can't have a positive mindset there because it just is set up for shipping bad products, right? And I don't want to I don't want us to not acknowledge that as well, like that end of the spectrum, that there are some companies who just consistently put out bad practices and bad products because they just consider the other end of having tech debt, right? Like, oh, theek hai na, like they just keep lowering the bar, and at some point there is no bar, right? Like, there is no shared understanding of what good quality means for the company. And at that point, everybody just gives up, and then it spirals down. It's the snowballing effect that just keeps getting worse and worse because every next person gives less care and love to whatever the previous person did because that's just the culture. And then like there's no saving from that. Like you just have to throw everything in the garbage bin and just start fresh, which never happens, right? Like there was a great article on like there are no code rewrites, right? Like there are never any code rewrites in a big company. It never happens. It's just not possible. Otherwise, unless you can like pause the company for like 6 months and say we are rebuilding the entire app, we are fine with like zero cash flow for the 6 months, which would never happen. So basically, that's done for, right? That product. So I just wanted to say like that we do acknowledge that those companies exist and are on the wrong end of the spectrum. But yeah, most companies, right? Like most companies that build product really well, Swiggy, for example, right? Like consistently, I still remember 2016, 2015 when we were in Istamojo. I have been a customer ever since then. And I remember you, me, Apur would be on these like insanely irritating calls about asking, like giving them directions to how to find the office, right? Istamojo office, which wasn't so hard, right? Like we had like 50 landmarks nearby. And then like a year later, we just stopped calling because they figured everything out, right? Like we just progressively the ops of it, the operations, the way location was handled, it all got meaningfully better. So I clearly saw like the progression of even before the design got better, right? Like the UI of the app got better. It didn't really matter to me because it was functional. I could order food. That's all I needed, right? Like everything additional was the final 20%, which I could have lived without if it meant that I had to not call the person, which they fixed first, right? So, like the companies knowing what to fix first in order to keep the customers, like fix ops first, fix your delivery process first, just like Amazon, right? Like probably not the most beautiful site, nowhere even close to being the most beautiful checkout websites in the world. Doesn't matter, right? Like the delivery, like I would always fall back to them because I just trust them, right? Like I know I can pick up online chat and like have my refund anytime I want, even if I'm in the wrong. So that's like focus on the right things, and if the company has those sorted, then you exactly know where the company puts their money, right? Like where the company puts their priorities. Some companies just don't care about that, and in that case, no amount of product thinking can save you. If you're already in that downward spiral, right? So and yeah, I see designers stuck in those companies asking for like advice and help, and I just don't have anything to tell them. I'm like, just go find somewhere better to work at, right? Like I don't have anything else. It's not your problem. It stops becoming your problem beyond a certain point, right? Like if you are at a certain level, it's beyond your paycheck to solve companies' problems. So at that time, you just have to show yourself out and like find something better to do with your time, right? So that's my advice at that time. It's like there is nothing positive about what you are going through. I think you need to make meaningful steps. If your situation permits, just leave the company and find something better, basically. But yeah, I mean, if you are in a position like now we are all at stages where we can meaningfully impact the way company looks at things and like approaches certain problems. I think then like leaving without making an effort is no longer an option for us. So if there is tech debt, if there is like suboptimal practices in the company, we all are partly accountable, partly responsible also, right? Like now, because we're all at positions where we can make good things happen just as much as we can make bad things happen if we don't pay attention. So like, so the out like the approach changes based on what point of career you are in, but at the same time, you have to be mindful of like just generally plain bad companies, and just leave them when you can. And I mean, acknowledge when you see one and then leave. Yeah.
Yep, that's very important balancing perspective. Madhuri, what can you add to that?
Uh, as everything, right, including design, doesn't have a say. I would say even sometimes marketing also doesn't have a say, right? The maturity of the company really defines where and what priorities are there. Like, not I'm not talking about the design maturity, level one, level two. I'm not talking about those things also, because big companies, ultimately the people in the companies also need to have that maturity to drive and take decisions from the, say for example, in a company like Philips, and I don't want to use these words, but they have bigger teams, right? The big design team reports to say a healthcare division, ECG division, a lot of these decisions. They have to prioritize what makes sense to them. If they want design as a priority, then they will choose design as a priority. If they want marketing as a priority, it drives that. So you cannot say that design is the only say, but even then, as a designer, you have the responsibility to push your limit. You can show how to optimize design in a better way. You can show how to work with existing assets in a much better way. There are a lot of design systems out there, right? But you know for a fact that you don't use them raw just like that. You're going to take them, you're going to modify them, you're going to use them. And if you are in a company that is not having such systems in place, can you set that up? Within your power, how much can you extend? But beyond a point you cannot, because a lot of cultural systems at play which will kind of come into place. If for example a simple thing like, hey, if um, if this person wants to open up a certain marketing material, right, this is going out in certain X way, can you as a designer improve that and prove that the design is a very critical assets and it is responding better? Do we have metrics to show that probably this has Y likes and the previous one has XI? To simple A/B testing, can we enable design in a better way? So that is one. Our side is our responsibility till max limit. The other side is accepting the fact that this exists and I have to make use of this. It has to run both ways. It's a two-way street. It cannot be like, I as a designer will have files say, you figure out whatever you want. That never works. You have to enable both sides. And to be honest, in all the aspects that I have worked with, we are a part of the team. It's never you versus me. It's all we versus, how are we getting the work done? That is how it is. And this you versus me has to stop somewhere. I understand it's human to be you versus me. But somewhere we need to get in saying that we're all in the same boat. It's not about, product versus design versus marketing. These discussions don't make sense after a point. Probably that's where the maturity comes in.
Makes a lot of sense. And just to consolidate what we spoke about, and I don't have much to add to that. They can there is we are on the same table, we are on the same page, we're building the same product, and understanding the reality of business, understanding the reality of decision making and business can help a lot. And but there are certain companies which just produce bad quality products. But as people who are now have seat at the table, we should attempt to push for that sort of change and accountability. But if we are not able to, then it makes complete sense to move on and find a better place to work. Um, and which brings me to an interesting sub question, very related to that. As designers, we are often prioritizing, a balance of form and function, where we often talk about like, the function is the form. Uh, but at times within business, right, the form starts getting priority, or the aesthetic starts getting priority, even though it's not a priority clearly for design of the user, but business or marketing or somebody in the business wants to push for like, hey, this does not look sexy, or this does not look great, this does not look as amazing as it could. Does that happen, and what do you do in those sort of scenario? Why does that happen when business prioritizes form over function?
Tricky. But that's a
Come
sad
हुआ ये Siddharth?
occupational
एक
hazard,
second.
right?
कब हुआ ये Siddharth? It never happens to me. Oh man.
Are you serious? It happens fairly often. Like it's happened a lot for me actually. I now treat it as an occupational hazard. I've come to terms with the fact that everyone will have an opinion.
And for us, it happens in a way where they are like, oh, it's priority. Like, just give us something functional, and you quickly like go and design something functional. They're like, oh no, we didn't build it. It didn't look that nice. I'm like, what? Like, it happens in that sort of like you were dying for it, you were
Worse.
asking for it, and now you're not
They
using.
come and ask you what's missing here. Like this doesn't have some spunk. I'm like, that's because you scoped out everything I wanted to add.
And there's passive aggressivism is. This is the best we can do. I'm sure. Like, what is it missing? Yeah. So there's.
Oh my God, this is the best we can do is the worst question. Seriously,
Yeah.
like it answers everything. It like I've heard things like this doesn't have oomph. This doesn't have the X factor.
Yeah, that
This doesn't
oomph
have
word
the-
is
the-
X factor.
so
Oh,
MBA. It is so MBA. Don't you guys? Can we like bucket these people, these oomph people, as the MBA grads in the room, right?
no, I've seen non-MB people do
I think
that as well.
I think
Those
these
are
are the
the
people.
MBA, those are the
people
non-MBA
who-
guys who reach Chetan Bhagat and then come to product company.
You know who these who these Paris, Milan, and Barcelona fashion shows are for. Those are for the oomph people who actually want some oomph and spunk and spark, right? Like that. Tomorrow, imagine like a mobile phone walking on a ramp, showing your app on its screen, right? Like that's basically what I see it as. Like, can I show this in like a flashy board meeting? Like, ये देखो मेरा
बारात
product.
चाहिए.
कुछ spark add करके दिखाओ तुम क्या कर रहे हो तुम designer हो like अरे the best thing is like I know we are planning to do a separate episode on this but I just want to like at the risk of spoiling that a little bit कि अरे you have that UX designer in your team na let him or her come up with some really good mocks and then you add some of your like final visual spark on it now you just do some like wizardry on it now so that's basically their understanding of how we actually work in our wizard caves right like basically एक Harry Potter की तरह बड़ा castle है थोड़े बहुत UX designers बैठे हुए हैं who are like coming up with like हाँ ये हो गया अभी ये बढ़िया है ये लो and then there are some designers there with some glitter कि ये ले 5 ग्राम ये डाला मैंने अभी 6 ग्राम मैंने थोड़ा ग्लिटर डाला अर्जुन तू इधर आ अभी इस पे तेरा वो फाइनल जो है ना 3.5% वाला स्पार्क वो डाल दे मतलब बढ़िया
एक किलो neomorphism.
शो टू द CEO
Yeah, kiloneuomorphism. Yeah, so yeah. So
1 kilo neomorphism holy shit
And it's so
it's basically
cool that now
like-
we have learned to laugh about it. We have actually learned to laugh about it. At one point of time, this used to be like this used to like put us off for days, like it used to bog us down so much. Because Hardik and I have been part of these processes where feedback was so vague at a time when we were chasing very, very tight timelines. And it just started, when the feedback is vague, that's when it really gets to you. These words like oomph and like jalwa and all this crap is they throw it just like really starts getting to you because they're so vague. You give me something pointed. You give me a pointed feedback on it. Say
no
this,
it's not only vague it's also extremely subjective like your idea of a spark might just be a terrible idea or breaking all accessibility laws. This is why we see products like the most famous credit card payment app in the market right now. Like consistently breaking every single accessibility rule on every single screen. Right? Kyunki, why should buttons look like buttons? Why should icons look like icons? Why should anything look tappable? Why should the copy look readable? Who needs to read copy? Right, like it's hurting the aesthetics of the screen. Why should we put so much text? So like when oomph starts driving your UI decisions, you end up with something like that, right? Like you end up with something that's barely functional, and there is no surprise that people are annoyed with it, and like people just consistently bring that up in the community, right? Because it's like you're prioritizing for the wrong things. Like I think it's completely understandable that you want to make it like very attractive, and that is something that you spend as a team the last 5%, 4% effort on once everything else has been agreed upon. कि भाई नहीं ये ठीक है, like this is solving all the right problems, fine, ठीक है, I completely get the need for making it like shiny, attractive, fine, that's fair, right? And there are levers you can tweak in your UI arsenal to make that happen, right? To make something look soft, attractive, like sort of inviting. But it's not the starting point. It can never be the starting point. Like that can never just be the goal of making something really attractive, and like it's just the wrong. It's a moving target first of all in the beginning, because nobody knows what the frame of that thing is, right? What the shape of that thing is. If the shape isn't clear, you can't paint it with the right color, right? So if you don't know the shape, so you have to get that first 5% agreed as a team and take it there. Only then can you do the final 5%. ना किस पे पेंट लगाओगे, वरना अगर तुम्हारे पास वो agreement ही नहीं है तो, right? किसको तुम jazz up करोगे? वो jazz up भी आता है, पता है बहुत.
Jazz up,
yeah. And another one I've heard lately a lot is मजा नहीं आया यार, मजा नहीं आया. That's another one. Like it's not there. It's not there.
Hey, this is a bingo post actually.
Yeah.
This is a bingo post.
It's a bingo post. Yeah, it's true. It's a bingo post.
I'll create one.
Have you done this? Like if somebody gives you feedback कि मजा नहीं आया, I literally gave the same screenshot three days later saying अब देखो, and they're like, oh yeah man, looks so much better, and I'm like, I didn't change anything. Like it's literally this.
I think I'm gonna try that tomorrow.
I'm gonna try this.
Hardik,
I'm definitely
tomorrow
gonna try.
I've heard it's not futuristic.
You would be surprised कि you would be surprised कि 8 out of 10 times it actually just passes through. People just assume that you have done that glitter addition and like, they don't come to keep by change क्या हुआ है. So I think it's psychological, right? Like this clearly tells us that it's psychological. They just want to make sure that you have given some effort on that 5%. Whether you have actually or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They just want to make sure like तुमने 3 दिन लिया है इसमें कुछ glitter add करने के लिए. Sometimes they just need that assurance. They don't need the final outcome का delta. They just need an assurance कि तुमने कुछ कर दिया था वो 3 दिन में.
In their words, they want to make sure that you gave your best.
Yeah. No, you gave your magic. You added your Maggi masala. You added your Maggi masala. That's what it is.
Or the butter in the Maggi
Become
masala.
like a support group now. Like full on rant just happened.
This is called design and therapy.
Like
This is what Siddharth wanted.
Is there
Exactly.
a positive side?
This meeting was designed for it.
No, we already established in the chat, right? तूने अर्जुन तूने बोल तो दिया था कि यार ये क्यों करना है, ये तो पूरा मतलब we can go on forever on this.
That is so true because
we all have time though for lockdown.
But I think the positive, the little bit of positive in this is that I just don't like get flustered by these observations anymore. It doesn't bother me at all. Like I'm like, हाँ ठीक बोलेगा तेरे को स्पार्क चाहिए, ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए, 2 दिन बाद हम फिर से डिस्कस करेंगे, you'll be fine with it. Yeah, like I just don't make an effort to like appease to that those kinds of remarks anymore. And good PMs and good CEOs understand that now. कि like ठीक है यार, मतलब like if you're already giving them like the best possible outcome in a given context, वो उतना ही चाहिए होता है, उससे ज़्यादा like I have had people share with me links from like some random dribble mocks that they were looking at. वो dribble पे एक search मारते हैं, पता है, creative ideas for buttons, and then they come up with like यार हमारा बटन ऐसा क्यों नहीं है. I'm like यार क्या बताऊँ तेरे को मैं, हमारा बटन ऐसा क्यों नहीं है. I'm like,
where do we start the story?
I ask the question. नहीं फिर I ask a question कि अच्छा ये कौन सी ऐप में है ये बटन, where did you find this? They're like, oh I saw it on Dribble. I'm like अच्छा तो where do I download that app जो Dribble पे है. वो बोला कि नहीं वो ऐप में तो नहीं है. तो I'm like तो कैसे बताऊँ मैं कि कैसे वर्क करता है, how do I test it, right? Like how do I make sure कि मैं तो ऐसे full passive aggressive सामने like hey I want to copy the button with utmost authenticity. Can I download the app where it's used so that I can use it and exactly copy it? They're like नहीं ऐप में तो नहीं है तो मैं कैसे copy करूँगा. मैं नहीं कर सकता, छोड़ो फिर. It's basically that it ends. Like, and then they realize कि अच्छा हाँ ये तो बन नहीं सकता शायद. हाँ तुम सही कह रहे हो. And then the third is that dribble link. They just stop giving any more dribble links to you. I found it insulting यार पहली बार जब किसी ने भेजा कि ए हमारा scroll पे ऐसा animation क्यों नहीं हो सकता. And I'm like ये तू 3 दिन देखेगा ना animation, चौथे दिन तेरे को चक्कर आएंगे. तो epilepsy के दौरे में पड़ जाएगा ये देख देख के.
Right, and people
I
don't
had a
realize
client,
that. Yeah, Madhuri, you say.
Sorry, I was just remembering a horrible story. So we were trying to design a brochure for one of the clients because it was part of the process of the final deliverable. She wanted to give a specific color. She actually sewed her bathroom tiles.
Wow. That sells. Like, that is a good sell. Damn.
She took the laptop to
अगर
her
ये
bathroom during the call.
अगर ये बाथरूम के टाइल पे अच्छा लग सकता है तो हमारी ऐप में क्यों नहीं.
Exactly.
Slow clap.
I'm triggered.
Siddharth, you remember that meme, right? You point and then
You and the point missing each other by miles.
it's such a timeless meme. I think it should be used more than it is.
I think I'll get it framed.
I just keep remembering that for like random reasons.
I can't forget that.
Yeah. We should share it in the order design group. I don't think Arjun has seen it yet.
Arjun, you've not seen that. You will use it everywhere on Slack once you see it. Everywhere.
Yes, it's such a innocuous but powerful meme.
Thank you so much for listening in, and thank you so much for watching. This was it for this episode, and next episode we're going to continue the rest of our rants and rest of the serendipity.